Hi everyone, Elsie Jensen here. Today we're kind of doing a little bit of a brunch. We're going to make some French toast roll-ups, bacon, sausage, and eggs. So let's get our bacon cooking and then we're going to work on our French toast roll-ups. But since our bacon takes a minute to get ready or to fry up, let's get it cooking. So we're going to do a whole pound. Pop that in there. And I'm just going to pull it apart. And we'll cook up the bacon, then I'll cook the sausages in the bacon grease, and we'll drain out a little bit of that bacon grease and fry up our eggs. Here. We're kind of doing a little bit of different day today because we're going to a movie tonight. So we're going to have, we have a brunch, and then we'll probably have like an early lunch dinner because we'll have lots of treats at the movies, because who can go to a movies without having popcorn and candy and all that jazz. There we go. I'm going to give my hands a quick rinse. Okay.
Yeah, question, what movie?
We're going to go see Lilo and Stitch for the kids. So it actually looks pretty good. I mean, I remember when Lilo and Stitch came out when I was a kid. So I think, it'll be fun. I don't think I've seen it since then. Okay, so we've got our bacon cooking up. I'm going to start it on a high, and then once it starts to really sizzle, I'll turn it down low. Okay, let's get our butter melting. So these are going to be French toast roll-ups. So we're going to cut the crust off of our bread. We're going to roll them out, and then we're going to make kind of like a cinnamon roll filling for them. And then we'll roll them up. So we're going to need about a half a stick of butter here. So 4 tablespoons of butter in our little thing. And then we're going to add in 4 tablespoons of granulated sugar and 3 tablespoons of brown sugar. So let's get going on that. And we're going to make our little kind of cinnamon roll paste to go on the inside of it. So 1, 2, 3, 4 of the sugar. And then we're going to need 3 tablespoons of the brown sugar. Which, let me go grab a spoon for this. You want to make sure you kind of pack that in there so you're getting all of it. So we've got 1, 2, 3. Come on up. There we go. And then we are going to add in about a tablespoon and a half of cinnamon. So this is going to be that like cinnamon roll filling inside our roll up. But before we do that, I'm getting a great sizzle on my bacon. That's kind of when I know to turn it down and give it a little toss, because I want it to sweat out its fat versus char up. There we go. I'll spread it around and kind of keep it nice. So turn it down to about a 4.5 to a 5. And this is so for our bacon. And then we're going to add in our cinnamon for our French toast roll-ups. So we're going to put in about a tablespoon and a half of cinnamon. If I can get it, there we go. So I'm just going to do a heaping tablespoon, which I'm going to count as a tablespoon and a half.
Very precise.
Very. You know what? Some things you don't need to be precise. We're going to turn on, that would be the wrong one. I'm going to turn my back burner on to a low because I don't want my sugar to caramelize like the candy. I just want it to melt and then kind of dissolve. So we'll get that. Let me grab a little basting brush because I'll just mix it with that because that's what we're going to put on the end of it. Now let's prep up our roll-up parts. So I've got 12 slices of bread here. We're going to cut off the crusts for these, and then we're going to roll them out. And the reason we cut off the crust is because they don't smush down as nicely for it. And then that will just also make my kids happier. So we've got our first we'll go through and cut them down. I say I just do about 3 at a time. That way I don't smush my breads together too much. There we go. And next 3. And for this, you're going to want to use like a super soft, I'm using a honey wheat, a white or like a mild honey wheat. You don't want it too thick of or dense of a bread because you want to be able to roll these nice and thin. So stick with more lighter, fluffier breads for this. There we go. Okay, so we've got our crusts cut off. And now we can start rolling them out. I'm going to make kind of like an assembly line here. So I just got my thing, and we're just going to roll them like this, nice and thin. So it doesn't take a lot of work, but the nice thin bread, this one rolls out better. There we go. Look at those. I realized one end where I start my roller didn't get fluffed down. There we go. I want them nice and flat. And this is what we're going to put our nice cinnamon sugar base in the middle, and then we'll roll them up, and then we'll dip them in our egg batter and fry them up like French toast. There we go. So pretty easy to get them rolled out. It's not as much work as people think to make a roll up, but they are delicious. There we go. So we've got our nice thin French toast here. I'm going to give my cinnamon sugar and butter, give it a nice little stir. Hopefully let it start melting together, dissolving. You just want to take the grit away from the sugars and kind of make a nice kind of little sauce out of it. There we go. But you don't want to boil it too heavy because we don't want it to turn crunchy. There we go. It's getting right there. That rich dark brown color comes from the cinnamon, which will give it a lot of flavor. I'm going to stir my bacon up here. There we go. And I do what I call a crazy fry on the bacon, where I just let it kind of crisp up in a pan with a crazy shape. I don't worry about having perfect little strips because that's how my kids like it. It crisps up nicely. So it's more of a, crispy versus a chewy thing. I've got 3 eggs here, and then we're going to use some half and half and then a splash of vanilla. I'm going to crack my eggs into my bowl. This is what we're going to dump our not our fruit roll-ups, our French toast roll-ups in. Now with these is we'll roll them up, but you don't want to dump them in the egg mixture until you're ready to cook them up on the skillet, because you don't want them to get too, if you let them sit, they'll kind of come undone. So we've got 3 eggs in here, and then we're going to add about a 1/3 cup of cream. Again, I'm just going to eyeball it to make our our custard that we're going to roll it in. I'm going to grab a fork here. We're going to mix this up. There we go. We're going to have it nice. You want to make sure you get all those eggs mixed together. So this is kind of our custard base. So if you want to do regular French toast, this is kind of like the base of what your regular French toast base would look like. And then I'm going to add a splash of vanilla. You don't need much, just a little bit. It's going to give a nice flavor. So like 1/4 of a teaspoon, maybe, between 1/2 and 1/4 of a teaspoon. You don't need too much, but that vanilla will just pair really well with the cinnamon. and just give you this lovely flavor. Okay, here we go. So now we can see our cinnamon sugar sauce. There we go. It's nice and it's running and smooth. We've got a little bit of a boil on it going, but not too high. So I'm going to turn this off. And then we're going to start assembling these guys. Now you're going to want to roll them up. I'm going to do mine like the long, and so they're longer versus short and fatter. Let me get this. Good amount of cinnamon sugar in there. And then we're just going to roll these guys up just like this. And then leave them with that rolled up side on the bottom. And that's going to make our delicious little thing. And then when we're ready to fry them up on or saute them up on my griddle here, what we'll do is we'll dip them in the egg mixture then there. I want to make sure you get a good coating of this, because this is where all that good flavor is. There we go. And seal that off of there. Then we're going to go check on our bacon here real quick. Give it a flip because I think we're getting ready for that. It's a nice little roll up. And again, the reason I like to do them long and thin is because then you'll get more of that egg coating on it, versus if you were to do them the other way, then they'd be thicker and they'll have a lot more rolls in it. There we go. Turn this down a smidge. We're starting to get our nice crisp up on our bacon. Turn. I like to flip it over. There. I'm going to put some of my more crispy bits to the outer edges and my more soft ones in the middle so they crisp up nicer. And I've got it on about a 4 now. Okay. Let's get our next little dabble here. There we go. And we'll roll it up. And this, again, our mixture here is made with, we used 4 tablespoons of butter, 4 tablespoons of granulated sugar, 3 tablespoons of brown sugar, and then about a tablespoon and a half of cinnamon. So it's going to have that nice cinnamon flavor for our French toast roll-ups. And then we'll finish up our bacon. We'll work on our eggs and our sausage in just a second. Let's see, we've got, I made 12, so we'll do 6 now, because we'll do 6 on our frying pan at a time, and then we'll roll those up. We'll get these starting to cook. So we'll roll them out. Get a little bit more. There we go. We'll spread it. We're going to roll this up. And then, before we dunk them, I'm going to turn on my skillet here. This is a griddle pan. This is like a hexclad 12-inch griddle pan, which has a nice short fat lip, which makes it really nice for cooking like pancakes or French toast. And then we're going to just take a little bit of butter. And then once it's hot, I'm just going to rub it on here and let it kind of melt up. I'm going to do this in between each batch of doing them, because I really love that butter kind of crispy edge on French toast. Okay, our bacon is getting close here. Probably just another minute or 2 to get that final crisp up. There we go. Lay that out. And then I'm going to get a plate for it when it is ready. That way we can transfer it onto our plate with our, to suck out all the extra grease. New paper towel roll. Doesn't want to give me my paper towels. Here we go. Put a little on the bottom. And once they're nice and crispy, I'll start removing them, and then we'll throw our sausages in. But I want to wait until they all got that nice crispy edge. And typically I can tell when they're ready is when they start to get a little white foam from the frying on it. So they're not ready yet, but that's when they've kind of crisped up all of it and they don't have any liquid left in them. There we go. Get those things. Our skillets here. Okay, I'm ready for our dip. This is going to be kind of the messy part. We got them in. You want to just give them a good submerge because you want them to kind of soak up as much as possible. And then we're going to lay them on our griddle here. Now you could always do them with a fork, but I find they're more likely to fall apart if you try to dip them with a fork. So I'm just going to use my fingers. There we go. And what we'll do is you kind of cook them and then you turn them and you flip them over and you cook and then you sprinkle them with cinnamon sugar at the end for that nice little, almost like a churro coating on them. There we go. Now, when you roll them out thin, it kind of prevents the bread from soaking up too much of the egg mixture, which is nice. So you won't have a soggy French toast. These will end up with a nice crisp edge on them as well. There we go. And then soak this guy up. Perfect. And let me give my hands a quick, hi, Grace, quick wash. Okay. So I'm going to turn this down so we have my skillet on about a medium for it. I'm going to use tongs primarily to turn them because you're going to want to pick them up and move them around. Let's get there. Okay, our bacon's getting close. Turn that up a smidge. Perfect. And then we're going to start on our next set of our French toast roll-ups here. And I'll get them out here. See if we can do kind of an assembly line. Do 3 at a time. I always got to make sure I don't misjudge how much cinnamon paste I have. There we go. And then I'm going to spread it about. It's cooled down now, so I can kind of spread it with my fingers a little bit. Let me get a knife. It's still hot. So we're going to spread this over. I will say now that it's kind of cooled, it's not as liquidy as it was when it was super hot. So I'm going to give it a little help to spread. There we go. I'll spread it all the way out because we want to get it to all the edges. And then again, we want to go and we're going to roll it up from our long edge so that we have a nice long stick versus a short fat one. There we go. And if you really want it to be fun, and I've done this before, is you kind of cut them up into little bite-sized pieces and you dip them, and then you can call them French toast sushi. And that's kind of fun take on things. Okay, let's flip over. There we go. We've got this nice golden brown edge forming on our French toast here.
You got a question? What type of bread did you use for this?
So this is just, I believe, just a honey wheat. I believe it's Sara Lee's honey wheat or Nature Valley honey wheat. It's a simple one. I want to say you want to use either a really soft white, like honey wheat, or a white bread for it. So this is not one that you're going to be using your bougie breads on. You want a spongy, thin bread that will roll out and smush well. Okay, let's start getting out our bacon because we've got some nice crispy ones already. Then we're going to get our sausages in. I'm going to pull out the ones that I know are done and crispy first and let them, that way they all kind of crisp up at the same time.
Yeah, great behind you.
She's like, bacon, please. Always. And then there's the Loki beast. Yes. They smell the bacon. I agree. Bacon is delicious. Let's get our bacon out. I'm going to spread it out so it can start to kind of crisp up on there. But I always like to have it each have a little bit of paper towel space to kind of soak up that extra grease. And then we're going to throw on our sausages. We're going to cook these. I'm going to turn this down to like a 2. We'll let these cook in our sausage, our bacon grease. Then we'll do our eggs at the very end. Okay, let's see how these are going. We'll give them a little turn. Yeah, there we go. I always like, you can always do just the tops and the bottoms, but I like to do all sides of them because I like them to get all that kind of crisp up nicely. There we go. Beautiful. I'm going to turn it down a smidge to about a 4 now that my skillet, it takes a while for your skillet to warm up. So now that it's nice and warm, I'm going to turn it down so it gets it nice and brown, like a golden brown. Add the last bit of our cinnamon mixture here. Ooh, down. I think we managed to spread it out fairly well. And then these things cook up fast once the griddle gets hot. There we go. You see we've got this nice little edge on it. Perfect. They keep rolling. They almost look like little sausage links here, but these are our cinnamon roll-ups for our French toast for those who joined us. We've got our first batch in. They are like really delicious and like a little goes a long way with them because they're pretty hearty. Okay, spread this out and then we'll take them off. We'll re-butter our skillet and then we'll get our next set cooking up. Here we go. Spread this, guys, all the way out for it. And again, this was our mixture of 4 tablespoons of butter with 3 tablespoons of sugar, granulated sugar, 3 tablespoons of brown sugar, and a tablespoon and a half of cinnamon sugar. So it's got that cinnamon roll filling to it. We're going to roll it up. Turn them. And again, you want to do them the long, skinny way. Put a little bit more of that in there. Perfect. And now let's take off our next set. These are all good. So we've got our beautiful kind of our French toast little roll-ups here. Aren't they just gorgeous? And then before we put while they're still hot, in my hair, I have cinnamon sugar mixed together because we eat a lot of cinnamon sugar toast. So you're just going to sprinkle a little bit over it. That's going to give you that nice cinnamon sugar crust on them. That will be so delicious. Now I'm going to butter up my skillet. That way it'll be ready. I've got it on down to about a 2.5, 3 right now. We're going to soak these guys up. And then we'll put them out on there to start cooking up. And then we'll flip our sausages and get ready for our eggs. But you always want to wait. So like now that my skillet's nice and hot, they're going to cook up much faster. But I always say it's just like with pancakes. If you ever cook pancakes at home, your first round of pancakes always take the longest. It takes forever to get golden brown. And then after that, they go really, really fast because your pan's finally like heated up all the way through. There we go. And perfect. Soak it up. You don't want to leave them too long in the mixture because you don't want them to get soggy, but you want them enough to soak it up. But rolling them out thin kind of makes it to where they can't absorb up too much, which is nice. There you go. And then for those of you who like bread pudding, I have my extra batter mixture over here, which we're going to throw our crusts in because my mom loves bread pudding. and I'll bake this up for her later so you don't have to have waste. So I'm going to just take all of my crusts from those, chop them up, and then we should have enough leftover batter that these should be able to sit and soak up in there. You could do them in little muffin tins and then bake them up in the oven at 350 for about 10 minutes, and they'll soak up. But we want to let them soak up in this curd for it. Throw in that cinnamon sugar too. We'll be able to make a little French toast with it, like a little French toast casserole or a bread pudding. They're pretty much the same things. Okay, let's get our sausages flipped. I'm going to turn it up now. And then once we have our sausages cooked, we're going to drain out some of this grease, because you don't want to fry all of your eggs in all that grease. That's a lot of grease. There we go. Let's check if these guys are ready to flip. Perfect. Got that nice golden coat on them. Beautiful. Excellent. I'll let those kind of coat up nicely. And while we're waiting, I think we'll put it in. I've got a small little cake pan right here. Just going to grease it with a little bit of butter. And then before I put it in there, I'm going to add a little bit of sugar and cinnamon to give it a nice little flavor to it. You don't need much, but it gives it a little bit more. You're mainly going to eat it with like maple syrup. So we'll do a tablespoon and a half of sugar. And we will sprinkle this with some cinnamon. Just a smidge, about a teaspoon. I'm going to stir it up. And you can see how it's soaked up all of my lovely extra milk and curd. That way nothing goes to waste. Now we're just going to pop it in here, and I'm going to spread it out. And that way I can pop this up and I can bake this for about 10 minutes in my oven. And we'll have like a little easy bread pudding or whatnot for them to have later. It's just a great way to not have any waste, especially with these where they've kind of got to take off the edges to make them. And normally when I do French toast, I don't take off any edges. Yes, Grace, are you the barker? There we go. So we're going to do the other side just because I like to get that crispy edge. And you don't have to do all the sides on it, but I just think it tastes better when you do. Okay. Let's slide my bacon over it. So you can see it's gotten nice and crispy now that it's kind of firmed up on there. But we're going to put our sausages on here. Perfect. Let me use actually my bowl to get some of this grease out, and a paper towel. Okay, all those there. And we're just going to do a kind of a simple fried egg for today. I'm deciding whether I should do fried eggs or scrambled eggs. I might do scrambled. Everyone loves scrambled, and little Lena's not here. She's on a Florida trip with her friends, and she's my fried egg partner in crime. She loves them, so we might do scrambled. Okay, since we don't need nearly this much grease, we're going to pour it out. Don't ever pour your grease down the kitchen sink or you'll be calling a plumber. Even with the hot water trick, don't do it. I'm going to reserve a little bit of it because I want some to flavor our scrambled eggs, but I don't need that much. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take some of these burnt bits and just wipe them out, just because my kids don't like too much of them in their eggs, but a little goes a long way. So we've got our eggs right there. We're going to put in a little bit of butter to go with the bacon grease because it just adds a little extra. And then I think we'll do a quick scramble on them because they'll like that better. My favorite way is a egg over easy, a fried egg over easy. But my kids prefer scrambled because it's funny. Like my daughter Evie, she's like, "Well, I like a fried egg, but I only like the egg whites." And I was like, "So that's half the egg." So we'll do a quick scramble once I have them cracked in here. So we're going to pretend they're fried for a second. And then pop, 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 pop. We'll do a kind of a quick scramble. This is like a camping style fried egg. There we go. So you're going to have those nice little, you're going to see those little bacon bits in there that will add a lovely amount of flavor to it. But I always say you want to take out some of them. You don't want to leave all of them in there because then it can get to be a really greasy egg. Okay, let's see. Perfect. We've got this nice, flip it over, get that last little bit going. You can see even the cinnamon sugar is oozing out and melting onto the pan, so it's going to be just so delicious. There we go. So here, those are our gorgeous cinnamon sugar roll-ups. Or I want to keep saying fruit roll-ups. I don't know why they're stuck in my head, but French toast roll-ups. There, it always gets stuck in my head. Okay, let's add a pinch of salt to our eggies. The bacon grease gives it a little bit, still it's going to need a bit more, so we'll just add a pinch. Because I know I'll say I salted my eggs and my kids will be like, "You didn't salt the eggs, I need more salt." I'll turn this off. And then the trick is once you've cooked your eggs, remove them completely from the heat because they'll still keep cooking. If you leave them on your hot burner, they'll cook even more. Okay, these guys are ready to come off. I'm going to turn off. And then we'll dust them with some more cinnamon sugar. And then we'll be ready to plate up. Look at that. It's so delicious. So we've got my cinnamon sugar mix, just a nice little dusting of them. Perfect. And we've got a French toasting that will pop in the oven for later. I'll make sure to maybe make it short and send you guys a video of it. But let's serve up our brunch today. Kind of a quick brunch for our day. So let's start out, of course, as always, we've got our bacon. So we got 2 patties of bacon.
That's sausage.
You're right, that is sausage. Apparently, I'm just in my head doing other things. This is bacon here. I know they're very difficult to tell apart. That sausage is round. And then we have our scrambled eggs within our bacon grease. And then, of course, definitely not the last thing, but the best thing on here, we've got our French toast roll-up sticks. So these are going to be delicious. They are filled with a cinnamon sugar, brown sugar, butter mixture, like what you find inside a cinnamon roll. And then we rolled out that bread nice and thin, and they are just so delicious here. I can even cut, I'm going to cut one apart for you guys so you guys can see that nice, look at this. This is that cinnamon sugar roll up in the middle. Delicious. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining us here today. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I try to do live cooking shows every single day, hopefully show you what we're making for our family and teach you guys something along the way. Again, we do upload all of our videos to the link on our page, so if you ever want to recreate any of our recipes at home, you can just go to that link, search for what we cook for, and cook along with me again. We also have a link to our Amazon storefront on our show, so if you were interested in any of the utensils or pans or whatnot we are cooking with, I have my 12-inch griddle pan in there as well from Hexclad. You can always check that out as well. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining us here today. Don't forget to like and subscribe.